Hey y'all, I'm Jessie with Southern Fried Sushigal, and welcome back to another week's What's for Dinner. If you like these types of videos, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as I do these every week. So let's go ahead and get into this video. Alright, so the first thing that we're making tonight is a beefy French onion rice. It's basically stick of butter rice but with beef in it, if anybody knows what that is. So I've got a pound of ground beef, some Italian style shredded cheese, half a stick of butter, some parsley, onion powder, cream of mushroom soup, French onion soup, a cup of water, salt and pepper, and I got some jasmine rice and garlic powder. Alright, there we go. Alright, so first things first is I put that pound of ground beef into the skillet, and we're going to get that all cooked up. Got my little doohickey. I don't know what that thing's called, but I use it to chop up my beef when I'm cooking it. And we're also going to season this ground beef with some salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. And then, of course, once it's cooked, you'll want to drain it. Next, I'm going to take that half a stick of butter, and I'm going to get it sliced up. I do not know why butter is so hard to slice, but it is. Obviously, I'm struggling, or maybe I just have really weak hands. I don't know. Alright, so once we got that sliced up, I took a casserole dish, sprayed it with some cooking spray, and I'm putting in a cup of rice. Then we're going to put in a can of the French onion soup. Alright, and then next we're going to add some cream of mushroom soup. All that in there. Okay. See my dogs up in the background, and then some water. Get that stirred up. Good and mixed. All right, so next I'm going to take that beef that I already drained and slide that in there. You could have also cooked the beef with some minced garlic and sliced onion. I just felt like the French onion soup already had little onions in it, and we didn't want to make it like onion crazy. My son's not really even fond of onions, so he really liked this probably because I did not put chunks of onions in it. That's what he doesn't like. So we get that beef all mixed in, and then I'm also going to season this with some salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. The quad of seasonings in this house, and I'm sure a lot of houses. Got all that mixed up, and then I'm going to take these slices of butter, put them on top. Do not at me. This recipe is not healthy. It is very yummy, though. So we got those butter slices on there, and then I'm going to take some tinfoil, put it on top, get it good and sealed. I want to keep that moisture in so the rice cooks. So we are going to cook this at 425. Now, you're going to see me in a minute. I'm going to put it for 30 minutes. So I think that if you used regular rice, like regular long grain rice, it would be 30 minutes. I used jasmine rice. It took an hour. I would cook it for 30 and check it and see if the rice is cooked, and then if not, cook it for longer. So this actually took an hour. So then I took it out of the oven. The rice is cooked. But next, I'm going to top this with the Italian style cheese. That's just what I had on hand. I think you could use any cheese. I think a white cheese would probably be best, like Italian or mozzarella or something. And just because of the flavors that it makes, that's just my opinion. So then I also topped it with parsley. I used a lot of parsley, and then I slid it back in the oven uncovered for about 5 minutes until the cheese was melted. So this is what it looks like plated. It was really yummy. I topped the casserole with a little dollop of sour cream to make it creamy, and I also made a thing of canned biscuits, and we steamed a bag of mixed vegetables, and I normally do that and put like a little bit of seasoning on them, and that's how we served it. It was really good. The recipe will be in the description box below. So next I made a chicken recipe called skillet chicken and balsamic caramelized onion cream sauce. So I only used one chicken breast, an onion, red pepper flakes, chicken bouillon cube, thyme, butter, heavy whipping cream, garlic powder, sugar, salt and pepper. Don't know why I keep showing you all the tops. That's salt and pepper, y'all. Balsamic vinegar and extra virgin olive oil. This is really good. I guess I'm having an onion theme this week. I like onions. All right, so first things first is I'm getting one of my sides ready. I did serve this with Brussels sprouts. So I just cut some Brussels sprouts in half and I drizzled some olive oil on them. No exact measurements. This is what I always do for my Brussels sprouts. And then I also put some salt and pepper on them. Brussels sprouts do not need any other seasoning besides salt and pepper, in my opinion. If you like it with other ones, do that. But really, to me, it's all about the way that they're cooked. Roasted Brussels sprouts are amazing. If you don't like Brussels sprouts and you've never had them roasted, roast them. They're like tiny cabbages. So the next, I just stirred everything so that the Brussels sprouts would get coated with all of the olive oil, so that way they'll cook up golden and crispy but soft at the same time. It just caramelizes them and just brings out this amazing flavor. So I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. Honestly, you could really bump this to 325 or 3 and cook them for like an hour. Low and slow is the best, but of course I'm trying to get dinner on the table, so 350 for 30 minutes is where it's at. All right, so set that timer, and then now we are going to cut that chicken breast lengthwise in half. So the recipe calls for 4. I don't need that much. These Aldi chicken breasts are huge. So all I did was use one, cut it lengthwise in half. You can use the 4 if that's what you need. We just don't eat that much meat, so I'd rather not have a ton of leftovers just sitting in my fridge and possibly not get eaten. So I just season these breasts with some garlic, salt, and pepper. I did it on both sides. Honestly, as you can see, I trimmed off any fat and skin and gristly parts over there to the side. All right, so now I'm gonna do a little olive oil in a pan and get that good and hot. And once that's hot, we're gonna place our chicken breast in there. Now, monitor your chicken breast. I did not monitor my chicken breast, and they burned a little. Luckily, I saved them, but you're supposed to like have brown bits in the bottom for the next section of this recipe. I didn't. So just be careful. Watch your chicken. All right, so once the chicken was pulled out, you put a little bit of butter in the pan. Lots of butter, a little butter. Who's counting? And we're going to take that whole onion that I diced up, and we're going to put that in the pan. And you are going to let that cook and soften until it gets to a nice golden brown color. Just continue to watch it, continue to stir it, let it get all deep in color. You also don't want to let this burn, obviously, like I did my chicken. Chicken was still salvageable. It just was a little crispy, Had to cut a little piece off. So, anyways, this is how the nice part of the chicken looked. The underside of one of them was a little brown. Also, I'm cooking some noodles for a side to go with this too. So once those onions are nice and brown, you're going to put in the seasonings. It's going to be a little bit of thyme, a pinch of red pepper flakes. I use more than a pinch. I recommend using the pinch. I like a lot of heat, but you should probably just use a pinch. Some sugar, and then some balsamic vinegar. So we're going to add all that to the pan. The sugar is supposed to balance out the spiciness, but since I just got a little spice happy, didn't really balance it out. It was good though. If you like spice, be heavy-handed. Be heavy-handed if you like that heat. Because I like that heat, but it may give you a little heartburn. So anyways, here we are putting in the balsamic vinegar. And also, just so you know, I didn't mention this in the beginning, I also doubled all the ingredients for sauce. If you want sauce to put on top of noodles or rice, you should double all the ingredients that have to go in the sauce from the recipe. Otherwise, you're only going to have enough for the chicken. So once that vinegar cooks out, which as you can kind of see, it's went down a little bit, you're going to slowly whisk in your chicken broth. And this is where you're supposed to be pulling up any of the brown bits from where you cooked your chicken before. But obviously I didn't have any because I cleaned it all out because it was burned. So now we're going to let that all come to a boil, and you're going to let that sauce reduce for just a little bit. You want it just to get a little thicker, about 2 to 3 minutes, until it takes yours to get a little bit thicker. So once it's gotten thick, as you can see right there, it's definitely reduced down, gotten thicker. So we're going to take that heavy cream and we're going to pour it in there and get that good and whisked around. And once that heavy cream's in there, you want to have reduced your heat because you don't want it to immediately boil. You'll bring it to a slow boil, let it simmer until it thickens up, but you don't want to burn it or have it curdle, so make sure you do that slowly. So I stirred it, made sure that the sauce was at the right consistency, and now I'm adding my chicken. So I took those basically one chicken breast that I cut in half, and then I cut them in half again. So each of these little pieces honestly is enough. So if that's not enough for your family, that's fine. This is just how we roll over here. So I'm putting them in the pan, but then I'm going to take the pan off of the stove because we don't want our chicken to cook anymore and get tough or dry. And I spooned that sauce over the chicken and kind of let the chicken sit and absorb the sauce a little bit. So yummy. So I served this, of course, with the Brussels sprouts. And then I just did some noodles on the side, plain noodles, and I probably put a little butter in them. I can't really remember. And then I topped them with the sauce from the pan. This was amazing. My son even liked it. And like I said before, he doesn't like onions. He just ate around any onions that were on his plate, though. All right, so lastly, we're going to make a black bean soup. So this calls for celery, carrots, onion, oregano, black beans, dried, chili powder, minced garlic, cumin, salsa, and of course chicken broth, but I use chicken bouillon cubes. All right, so first things first is we're slicing up these celery sticks. Just need to use 2. And then we are dicing them up even more. I probably should have used my alligator chopper for this, but this is how we did it. We're just going to keep on rolling with it. All right, and then next I'm going to cut up this whole onion into slices, and then I'm going to dice it. Also, if you had in the directions of the actual recipe that I'm going to link below, it says to use a whole carrots that you shred yourself. I already had shredded carrots in the refrigerator, so I just took whatever I had in that bag and used it in this soup. You could also just buy shredded carrots if you wanted to. Doesn't have to be specific. Whatever is easy peasy. All right, so now we're going to take those black beans and I'm going to pour them in my pressure cooker liner. Instant pressure cooker, instant pot, whatever. You can also do this, the recipe says crock pot, but I did an instant pot, pressure cooker, make it easier. Also, then I put in the onions, and then I also we're scraping out more onions. Then I'm going to toss in the celery and the carrots. Get those in there. All right. Now I'm going to put in those chicken bouillon cubes. And then we're going to do the chili powder, cumin, and oregano. Okay, just so you know, I probably would have added more cumin and probably some salt and pepper after eating this. It definitely needed more spice. So, more seasoning. Here I am putting in some minced garlic, but just FYI, I would add more seasoning to this than what the recipe calls for. That's just me, my husband agreed. Here I go putting in the salsa. And then I'm going to put in the water. I'm putting in more water than what the recipe calls for because I'm also attributing for the fact that I'm not using chicken broth. I instead use chicken bouillon cubes, so I have to put in water for that too. So now we put that liner into my actual electric pressure cooker, tightening that lid, closing the valve. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to put this on the soup setting for an hour because, of course, I'm using dried beans. If I was using cooked beans, I would do it for less time, of course. So now it's all cooked. So I think in the recipe it says to like emulsion blend it. I just took a potato masher and mashed some of the beans up a little bit and left it whole. I don't have an immersion blender, and I didn't feel like blending it in the blender, so that's how we ate it, and it was still good. It just depends on how you like the consistency of your black bean soup. So that's what it looked like, all cooked up. All right, so to go with this, I'm going to make some cornbread, and all I'm using is butter, milk, cornmeal mix, and eggs. This is actually the recipe on the back of this cornmeal mix, but I will type it out below. So first things first is we're going to get this oven preheated to 425, and I cook my cornbread in a cast iron skillet. So if you're using a cast iron skillet, you have got to get that cast iron skillet super hot. So while it's preheating, I put that cast iron skillet in there and let it get sizzling hot. So next I'm going to mix up my batter, and so we're going to use 2 cups of the cornbread mix. Here we go. And then I'm going to do 1 egg, and then the milk. Get that all stirred up. So also the recipe calls for shortening, but as you saw when I showed my ingredients, that I have butter because I don't use shortening. If you want to use shortening, you can. I think it tastes great with butter. So now that pan's super hot. I pulled it out of the oven, and I'm taking that butter and rubbing the sides of it so they're good and greased. And then I'm going to rub the bottom of it so it's good and greased, and then I'm going to just let the butter continue melting in this pan. And then I'm going to pour the batter into the pan. The reason why you want this pan to be hot is because it's going to make it where that batter does not stick to the pan, and you'll have the most perfect golden cornbread, I promise. So we've got the oven at 425. That's what the cornbread has to bake on, and we're going to set the timer for about 25 minutes. That's all it takes for it to cook. Here it is already in the oven, because I had to use both hands to put it in there. It was heavy. All right, so it's done cooking, and oh, look at it. See, that's some good cornbread. The recipe also says optional sugar. I don't like sweet cornbread, but here it is. See how it's separated from the pan? That cornbread came out so easily. All right, so then we've got some toppings for our soup, because if you've watched a few of my videos, I top all my soups. We've got some mild cheddar, green onions, cilantro, hot sauce, sour cream, and jalapenos, and then I got cornbread and butter back there. So here's my soup. I topped it with all of the toppings, and honestly, because the soup could have used more seasoning, it needed the toppings. So just FYI, use toppings or extra seasoning or a little bit of both. So there it is. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I put out new videos every week. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.